Some trips are felt beyond words. No one connects you to Alaska like Princess. Princess Cruises. Book now. Some trips are felt beyond words. No one connects you to the Caribbean like Princess. Princess Cruises. Sailing the Caribbean. Book now. Some celebrations are felt beyond words. No one connects you to the ones you love like Princess. Princess Cruises. Book now. Some trips are felt beyond words. No one connects you to the Pacific Coast like Princess. Princess Cruises. Book now.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the streets of Long Beach. Ready for Event 4 in the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series 15. This is the Pro Class. This is the beginning of 4 races over the next 8 or 9 days in our 4 different classes in the PCA. Perhaps its most difficult circuit here in Season 15. We'll also reach the halfway point of this championship, by the way, at the end of tonight for the Pro Class. A championship which so far has been very, very entertaining indeed. It's going to be myself, Ian O'Leary, along with Joe Peake in a moment. Joe just joining us in a couple of moments' time with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras of this RaceSpotTV broadcast here tonight of the PCA in Series 15. As I say, we are going to reach the halfway stage of our season this week. Second half of the season contains some tighter racetracks, you would say. Alton Park, Suzuka, Rural Atlanta, Daytona will round off the season on April 15th. That will be a 2-hour race in one of the longer PCA seasons that we've had in terms of amount of racing. Certainly the longest since we started covering it here on RaceSpot a couple of years ago. A lot to look forward to then, especially because of this. David Mendonca, Bryce Rodriguez and Blake Townend all on 670 points at the end of 3 rounds. That of course includes 1 drop round, although Mendonca didn't score anything from Phillip Island, so he is walking a tightrope each week, you would say. Jesse Lyon and Thomas Briggs round out the top 5 with Chris Braun next, and a 3-way tie for 7th too, with Thomas Isabel, Robbie Prescott and Shane McNeely rounding off those positions. Arthur Chang is in 10th. Those highlighted in purple are in the Super Pro class, and Rodriguez and Townend are tied at the top of those standings as well. Super Pros, by the way, are those who finished inside the top 10 of the Pro Class Championship last season. Mendonca was not part of it, so he is wild card, as you like, if you like, in those top 3 heading into the remainder of this season. Well, there's just about a couple of minutes left here in qualifying here from Long Beach, and everybody pretty much just set their times. Leif Peterson I can still see out there on the racetrack at the moment, but as expected around here, it's a short lap. It's only 1:17s, so everybody's been able to get their lap times in very early. And once again, it's Bryce Rodriguez and Blake Townend who are at the front, absolutely dominating. They're only 32 thousandths apart, but they are a quarter of a second in front of anybody else. That is rather impressive in the size of racetrack that we have here. 38 drivers with a time on the board, only Julian Velez without. Hopefully he will get into the race. Glad to say that now joined by Joe Peake in this broadcast. Good to be with you, Joe, again for this latest round of the championship at Long Beach, bringing us to halfway with what I would argue is our most difficult challenge of the season.
It really is, perhaps. the most brutal track that they're going to be racing this season. It's a concrete canyon. There's no room for error. The runoff is almost non-existent. So I have a feeling that not only that, but that we've got a change of start procedure, which is frankly necessary, is going to throw a few drivers for a loop. So hopefully they are ready to go for what is going to be a bit of an oddball one.
Well, absolutely. And, it's so much about the fact this is going to be survival as well. The reason why I pointed out Bryce Rodriguez and Blake Townend being at the front like that, I mean, the fact they've been able to avoid the potential traffic, the potential for incident in this race, that's massive, especially when you compare it to David Mendonca. I was just saying, as we're going through the standings there, hasn't scored any points from Phillip Island, so doesn't have a drop round to fall back on, unlike the others. I mean, Blake Townend, for example, has got a third place as his worst result so far. He can afford to have a bad round, although he wouldn't like to. Mendonca really can't afford that, and even back in fifth place, you're in increased danger back there.
Exactly. You make a great point. And coming into this with a bit of an ace up your sleeve, such as a backup round, plays a big part in this. It allows you to maybe take a few less risks or a few more in some ways. You can try and go for that win. Like you said, you don't want to use it up if possible, but you also find yourself with just maybe I always call it a safety net under you.
Yeah, well, it is really. I think that's a good description of it, because it does just allow you to have that bad round if you need one. I mean, Bryce Rodriguez, 6th place last time at Sebring. It's not too bad as far as a bad race is concerned, but you absolutely don't want to be in the situation that David Mendonca is in here, in my opinion, where you're really at the behest of everybody else. And, you can get caught up in stuff here. That's my point, really. The point, you can get caught up in stuff here that really isn't your fault. Here at Long Beach, so that's really the problem. I mean, it's such a tight racetrack, and it's not even just off the start as well. It just continues on and on. And I imagine we're going to get quite a lot of traffic tonight because there's nearly 40 of them, and it's such a short racetrack. So yeah, it's going to be a nervy 5 rounds for him. But if he's going to win this championship, then he's going to have some good race results anyway, and not be finishing down towards the bottom. Anyway, let's go through the pole lap, shall we? Bryce Rodriguez, 1:17.7 is the best time, and this is how he did it, keeping it to the right-hand side, obviously, to shorten your distance through this opening section here, and get yourself ready for this braking zone. Make sure you don't exceed track limit, see on the right-hand side, and touch that, it'll get 4 wheels over that red line. Go over that curb on the inside too hard, it will spit you out into the outside wall, and that's just about getting as close to the walls as possible, and indeed the fountain and the grass on the right-hand side there as well, before these next 9 get away with it in the race, but not in qualifying. It will invalidate your time. Again, be wary of that wall on the right-hand side. It does jut out a little bit, but so many of these turns, it's just as simple as getting as close to the wall at the point of apex as possible, especially through here, even though the curb suggests otherwise. You're getting close to that wall on the right-hand side, and then the left again. And then into the final sector. This is where things get a little bit slower in the lap, really. In towards turn 9, which is a 90-degree corner. Quite a braking zone, and maybe an overtaking chance into here. And then into the long left-hander of turn 10. Braking in towards turn 11, where effectively you're making a U-turn on a highway right out onto the front straight again. Really tight round there. Hopefully we're not going to see any traffic jams through that hairpin, because there's been many in the past, and hopefully we can get away without that tonight. To avoid that on the formation lap, by the way, we're doing a standing start tonight in a difference to all the other rounds this season.
Yes, and that was what I was alluding to earlier with a change in process for the start. It is different, and the drivers do need to be aware, because you don't want to get wheel spin as you get going off the line. You could lose a lot of places for that. I believe with that pole lap done, that allows us to go through the starting grid as well. As we watched, Rodriguez with the pole takes it over Blake Townend, his rival, with only 300ths between them in a lap. Justin Sang starts from 3rd, with Thomas Briggs in 4th and David Mendonca in P5. Jonathan Waltman then will start from the 6th position. After that, it's Robbie Prescott on the inside of row number 4. Justin Tipton will be to his outside. Top 10 going to be rounded out by Logan Grotto and Kellen Heimbecker. It's Thomas Isabel starting 11th and Matthew Stidall in the 12th position. They're followed by Thomas Ewing in 13th, Christopher Cook P14. Will be Chris Pies starting 15th today, and Julian Jones in 16th. The ninth row rather, will go down to Jake Gerbino in 17th and Ed Eisenring starting from P18. Then it's going to be Lenny Holland starting in 19th and number 68. You've got Sylvester Canny starting 20th. Andrew Serger will be P21. Chad Henson in 22nd next to him. Then is followed by Leif Peterson starting 23rd. Cameron Erickson in 24th. Quarter century mark will go to Seiji Zahar. And then James Huth on his side there in 26. Arthur Chan, unusually far down in 27th, is accompanied by Nolan Baltz in 28th, and then Morgan Teggy in 29th. Derek Dirksen rounding out your top 30. Still more to go with Enrico Gregorato starting 31st. Joachim Baker will be 32nd, and Jason Ryan in 33rd. Rodney Campbell then to his outside, starting 34th position, sees Rich Minkler behind him in P35, and Mark Petrowski in 36. After that, it is Michael Patterson, 37th. John Gibson, also pretty far out of position here in 38th, 2.5 seconds down from the pole time. And the only driver failing to set a lap is Julian Velez in the number 33, starting 39th today. Hopefully he will, in fact, grid up and has solved the problems, kept him from getting a lap down. Looks like they are starting to grid up now. Hopefully you have been prepared, because there is little that will prepare you for a track like this, Ewan.
Well, absolutely. You've got to be really, really careful on the opening lap here. And hopefully all the drivers have been warned about that. They'll know about the challenges, but let's hope that everybody's careful in towards turn one. We always say you can't win the race down at turn number one, and that still remains true anywhere. But you've got to keep that to the forefront of your mind more here than anywhere else we go to on this schedule. Or indeed, perhaps in World Motorsport. It's so tight through there. Let's hope everybody gets through cleanly first time round, and let's see if they do. I mean, yeah, it's going to be an important start to this race just to get us under green for an hour of racing. Let's hope they can all get through.
Which they are about to see, and there it is. Green flag is out, coming off the line. A few drivers looking like they're having to dodge to the side a little bit, but for the most part, everybody gets away. That's the first difficulty, but we're 3 wide. Up at the front, coming down into turn 1. This cannot stand. Somebody's going to have to give way here, and Justin Sang is going to take the point, but they're going to come together and thankfully stay out of the tire barrier. But now what about the fountain? This is where things get a real crazy typically, and so far everybody is doing pretty well. There's a few pieces of bodywork that have flown off, but I'm not seeing anybody turn around.
What a great start that was from Justin Sang. I mentioned this is the only standing start of the season. Well, he's clearly been practicing, because he was firing down the inside of the two of them there, Rodriguez and Townend, who, by the way, has dropped down to 6th place. He was the one really wide there, and he's dropped down to 6th. A terrible start for him. Thomas Briggs was able to capitalise too and get in front of Bryce Rodriguez.
I'm curious if that will wind up seeing any sort of penalties with the contact that we saw into there. Their drivers are still in it, but they tend to frown upon contact on lap 1. There is a black flag for Robbie Prescott, I'm assuming for a jump start at the beginning of the race. We're going to complete lap 1. Sang leads, Briggs leads Rodriguez out of the hairpin into the line.
Well, what a great start from Sang. One of the starts of the season, I would argue, and he has got the lead here at perhaps the most important racetrack for track position here. Well, related, but I don't think it was Sang's fault. Townend's got no front bumper here, and I wonder whether that's affecting him, because already there's a 1.5 second gap opened up to Jonathan Walkman in the 5th place driver in this group. This is how it happened. I think it's just 3 wide into turn 1 to go, because Briggs is also looking down the inside there. I'm not sure Townend was quite expecting that. He was at least able to dive it into the fountain here, but although there was a bit more contact there, he was able to at least keep 6th place. It could have been worse.
I think we had at least one car get turned around. And this might look crazy, but this honestly happens even in real life races around here on the first lap, where drivers have to come to a complete halt. There's Gregorato in the background getting spun out of the hairpin. Here's some of the bodywork that went flying at the very start down to the fountain on lap 1.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing about starting in this place, in as far as avoiding incidents are concerned? Do you want to do it a rolling start so everybody's already sort of going and prevent stack-ups like this, or do you want to have the standing start and try and keep things a little bit better on the formation lap? This was Greg Otto, as you say, getting spun around to the back of the field, but it's so difficult to know what to do here. You've just got to hope that everybody gets through nicely. Unfortunately, there are a couple of things, and Baco here indeed spinning as well, already had damage. But I think overall it's actually been pretty well dealt with by all of these guys. Some aggression, of course, some positions changing, but for the most part, no track blockages, which is a testament to all these guys.
We just about had one in the hairpin. We didn't quite see it, but Gibson and Minkler were involved in that one. I'm sure we'll get a replay a little bit later, where once again, it is so clumsy through such a tight, slow hairpin. Up at the front, Sang still leads Briggs. They pulled a gap of about 0.8 over Bryce Rodriguez. The only small crumb of comfort for a lot of the drivers that have found themselves losing spots early, as here is that stack up, is attrition plays a massive part in this track. If you can keep it together and get to the finish, you're likely to earn positions.
Yeah, and to a degree as well, you've got to be in the right place at the right time. You couldn't say some of that is down to bad luck down there at the final turn, unfortunately. If you get caught up behind somebody like that, there's just no way around them at that hairpin there, and it has delayed a few further down back in the pack. But at the front of the field, no such delays. 3 laps completed, and Sang is leading. He's getting away with Briggs a little bit here, but the gap's not that large in the end. Also, Blake Townend getting a bit closer as well, so clearly he doesn't have damage that's affecting too much. The first big break in the group is here, Thomas Isabel versus Logan Grado, so clearly Townend's damage is not affecting him too much.
Not. These two nose-to-tail, Isabel and Grado, fighting for that 8th spot. Don't see a swap of positions. And, you know, I wonder if some of this is because of the eagerness, knowing that track position is king here. Once things settle down, this place is notoriously difficult to get passes done.
It's certainly is, and that's the toss-up with this racetrack. You know, we are talking about qualifying being important, but also lap 1 is the best place to make up these positions, and you've got that balance between surviving lap 1 but also making up the places. Justin Sang and Thomas Briggs in the end got that balance absolutely right, and hence why they're leading first and second. Would they have been able to overtake Rodriguez and Townend in open play, as it were, if they hadn't have made those positions in the opening lap? It's doubtful, to be honest. So great opportunistic driving from them early on. Now they lead, but how does this continue on over the course of the day? How does the pit strategy fit through this later on as well? Because the pit window here is wider than at any other place that we're going to.
Nice move by Grotto down into Firestone turn. That got him ahead of Isabel and into P8. Briggs still dangerously close to Sang, but Justin probably knows that he's got that track spot that he needs up in front of him. If he stays calm, if he hits his marks, it's going to be very hard for Thomas to sneak by. But then we also have the pit stops later on. Could those offer a chance to try and leapfrog him if he finds a good strategic opportunity? Rodriguez still watching from third. He's now about a full second back from that battle for the lead. So he's been dropping, but not by big chunks.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a balance really, because yes, the pit stops are coming, but when do you want to make them? Because the traffic behind is going to be arguably even worse here, so very difficult to know what to do in as far as making your pit stop is at the moment. When to try and get an undercut, or do you try and make the move on the racetrack there? Briggs looked like he was sort of thinking about it at the final turn there, but it's so tight that you can't really dive down the inside there. You've got to work on it somewhere else. Just keep applying the pressure here and almost hope that Sang makes a mistake, as much of that seems like a long way off at the moment. That seems like his best bet for certainly the next 10 minutes or so. This is Derek Dirksen, spinning, coming through the left-hander of turn 8. Difficult over these curbs in some places, because the curves don't necessarily match up to where you actually end up running on this racetrack. As he takes his own rear wing off there as well, he'll have to make an early pit stop.
Doing some fancy dance moves in the process as well, but yeah, that's unfortunate that he made things a little bit worse, and will need to use that spare car once he comes into pit lane. Thomas Briggs, with some of his fans watching over his shoulder, as has become tradition, riding here in second place, looking as focused as ever even though he has got a face full of the 188 bumper. And I think that's the difficult thing, is that you can't really see a whole lot with how wide and tall the rears of these cars are.
It's got a peripheral vision full of supporters as well. Or just somebody else joining as well. I'm very comfortable with people just coming in and leaving. But anyway, he's certainly applied the pressure to Sang at the moment. Does look quicker, to be honest. And it's just a case of where you're going to make the move. Also, the balance between actually trying to put that pressure on now and not letting Bryce Rodriguez into this. I mean, Rodriguez is getting closer. He was 1.1, 1.2 seconds behind not so long ago. Now within a second of the lead, Justin Sang. And it's not really putting any more pressure on the race leader. It is, though, putting the pressure on Briggs as he has to attack and defend all at the same time. That can get very difficult, even somewhere around here, as you're trying to take the different lines to try and get the run on the driver in front of you. You can open up opportunities for the guy right behind.
Well, I said Bryce was losing little bits here and there. He has cut that down by 0.3 since we last talked about it. You can see he looks even a little bit closer to those two. So he's definitely got the car in a good working range. Maybe just needed it to settle in for him to try and go on the attack. What's happened to Morgan Tagey, who I saw falling down the order? He slides around, just taps the inside wall from what we could see on that angle. But unfortunately, you're at a blind spot. It's hard to get turned right ways, and I think you took a toe. Yep, you did.
Probably for the best, isn't it? I mean, it is a shame. It is time consuming, of course, but you're just never going to get it turned back round there again, unfortunately. I mean, the train in this field, there's no real gaps for 45 seconds from Sang up the front here to Julian Velez, who's really the last of them in that group in 33rd position. You can't be waiting all that time, and even when you do have that little gap, there might be lap cars in the way, and it's you may never get that gap to actually turn around in. So just got a toe, unfortunately, and that will cost you all that time, of course, but at least doesn't cause to pile up, as Jonathan Walkman and Justin Tipton join this front group as well. They're not far behind Blake Townend, who's hanging on to these leaders. The gaps, though, getting out to a second at the front of the field through 10 minutes here. Track position is so important that even those who qualified on pole, like Blake on the front row rather, like Blake Townend or like Bryce Rodriguez, who finished on the pole, they're not able to keep up or indeed pass those in front of them.
Impressively, Waltman sporting a significant amount of damage on both the front and the back of the car, and yet still running 6 with competitive times. So it doesn't seem to be slowing him down as we jump back to Justin and Thomas now at the front of the group, down around the hairpin. 2 different lines between them with a much more shallow exit from Thomas Briggs. Could he use that to his advantage, or could he use it right now? Because he is so much closer and is looking for something coming down into turn 1, shows his nose down to the inside. He's got the overlap, out breaks him into the turn, and Briggs is into the lead.
Nicely done, and you wouldn't expect that to be allowed to happen, really, by Justin Sang, because you can defend rather easily around here, but Thomas Briggs able to take the lead. And now can he get away? Because, to be honest, when he was behind Sang, I thought he was a good deal quicker, actually. So can he now use that speed? Or is it going to be a case of whoever's leading is looking like the slower driver, because whoever's following is picking up all their lines and able to follow them very closely around here?
Briggs now up 3 spots since the start of this race. Not easy to do. And actually looking like he's running away a little bit. 0.6 already over Justin Sang. Has Briggs been released at this point and able to maybe run away? That lap traffic could affect it a little bit, but we got to wait and see what happens when they reach them. They do have blue flag rules in this league, so this is not the standard iRacing rules where it is advisory only. You get 3 corners once you are within 1 second of the car that is being shown the blue flag. Then they are asked to pull over, but there's few places to hide here. So even if you are required to pull over, where do you do it without costing that other driver time?
Well, exactly. It's just such a unique place to go racing, such a difficult place in all aspects that we've talked about so far tonight. And indeed, we've not even got to the pit stop phase yet. As I mentioned earlier, it's the widest pit stop window of any race we have this season. it will be opening actually in a couple of minutes' time, but certainly none of these leaders will actually want to go in. Because of the fuel restriction, it shouldn't be in a situation where anybody can save and keep a reasonable speed to get to the end of the race without stopping at all, but we will see some people stopping very, very late, I would imagine, or indeed very, very early. But as I say, for these leaders, you're only going to end up in more traffic, so expect to see these guys going really quite a long way into the last 20 minutes, certainly maybe into the last 15 minutes of this race.
Yeah, the numbers I've been given by some of the drivers says about 43 minutes left to go is when it'll open. 16 minutes is when the window will end, is what they're estimating. So that does keep things pretty open, but you still have to be careful around this track because it is hard to get down into your stall with the way you have to go so slow to get into pit lane. Watching Arthur Chan, who we had mentioned, kind of started somewhat out of position. Where is the number 50 right now? Is it game plans? I'm having trouble finding him.
It's not my strong point either, to be honest with you. Arthur Chan's currently in 22nd.
Yeah. 5 spots up. Okay, so not too shabby. Like we said, it's already hard to try and make those passes, so he's gotten himself a few in the process. Some of that may be down to the attrition, but the others around him aren't boasting quite as many spots, so you have to think he's done a little bit of the hard work himself. In the meantime, as we check in with Kellen Heimbecker as well, running in 12th, we do want to give a quick mention to one of our sponsors. We're thrilled to have Princess Cruises continue as our PCA Sim Racing title sponsor for 2026. With 17 ships sailing to 345 destinations on 7 continents, world-class cuisine inspired by the palaces they visit, and the friendliest crew at sea, Princess is ready to welcome you on board. And specifically for PCA members, join the Treffin at Sea 2026 Pacific Wine County Cruise on the Grand Princess, sailing from Vancouver to Los Angeles, September 9th to 25th. Go to the website link on the screen, pca.princesspartnerships.com, or call 833-679-2188 to speak to a PCA travel concierge agent. That's 833-679-2188. That does sound like a good time out in wine country, but for now, the focus is on the track in front of Thomas Briggs, which includes the lapped car of Joachim Backer, who got caught up, and politely, he is going to allow many of our drivers through. This is going to cost him time, but it's definitely the right thing to do. They're so close together at the front.
Yeah, you can't just nip in and get, one guy past you or whatever. The gaps are far too small for that, so you do have to sort of almost come to a stop, and it will cost you a few seconds, probably about 3, and then you can slip in line a little bit further down, which is helpful. But unfortunately, when you see these guys tearing up behind you, there's not much you can do other than let them all through. John Gibson is going to have to do the same very, very soon as well. He had a black flag earlier, I believe, for the instant down at the hairpin on the opening lap, if I'm not mistaken. It was certainly a judge by the stewards, as all the black flags are in this series, and he will now have to do the same very, very shortly. But they won't be the last. I mean, even guys who haven't been in pit lane or anything yet, like Julian Velez or Enrico Gregorato, yes, they've had trouble and they've been stuck behind stuff, but they're already 3/4 of a minute behind these leaders, and we're only a quarter of an hour into the race, so it just gives you an idea. Yes, they're not going to lose 2 minutes and more over the course of the race just on speed, but they are going to be lapped at the end of in the middle of this race, I'd imagine, because the lap is so short around here.
Yeah, you think about that, a quarter of the way into this, and they're already this close to the back of the field. That does tell you that it's going to be a constant problem for everybody dealing with that traffic. Battle for the 8th position as we head back to Grotto and Isabel. We were watching them a little bit earlier, but Grotto, since he's gotten by, has pulled it out to about 0.6 of a second ahead of his rival, and he's going to deal with that lap traffic now as well. As the Dutch driver, Joachim, is pulled out to the side last time out of the hairpin. He's not going to do that this time, it looks like.
Yeah, that's not by the looks of things. Although maybe into turn number 1.
There he goes.
There we go. So on the straight, probably the best place to do it, and is actually going to let both go at once there. Battle for 8th between Logan Grado and Thomas Isabel, as Julian Jones is given a black flag, and very quickly afterwards he comes in to serve it. So that's from a top 20 position. Jones is going to drop down, and a drive through here, by the way, is very, very costly. It takes you over 30 seconds to drive through the pit lane. It's a very, very long way around here, as Townend is going to recover his first position since losing all those on lap 1 at the expense of David Mendonca.
So I don't think that was a black flag from the stewards. From what I can see, I think he sped into pit lane. Early stop for Julian has resulted in him being sent way back, now having to serve that penalty during his pit stop. As you can see, that's way too long in the box there on the right-hand side. In the meantime, back to that battle up at the front of the field. Bryce Rodriguez being chased by Town and Mendonca and Tipton here.
Yeah, indeed. It has created a bit of a break in the group, but yeah, they're all still there lurking. I just feel like this pace at the front has just been increased since Briggs got to the lead, I think. Maybe that's not entirely true. I mean, Sang was only half a tenth away from his best lap of the entire race last time around, so to be fair, maybe the pace has increased just a little bit. And no personal best from anybody last time round, though, partly because of the traffic for those outside the top 3, but not even for those inside the top 3 either. It's now 3/4 of a second. Briggs starting to control this race a little bit, and unless he gets tripped up under the pit lane, or the pit phase, it's going to be very difficult to remove from that lead now.
Down to Lenny Holland in 14th. He's trying to get ahead of Ed Eisenring, who trails him by about 0.6 of a second. Cameron Erickson as well, putting pressure on Ed at the same time. It's hard to be an island out on this track. We follow Erickson from the ahead cam. Easy to spot this brightly colored car, and that's probably definitely filling up the rears of Ed as he gets so close to the bumper through turn 8. Down Seaside Way, it looks like a long back stretch, but it's not long enough, and he's not going to be able to try it down into Firestone.
It's not as long of a braking zone as you think either, coming into that right-hander there. It's quite an open 90-degree right-hander. The angle of the turn itself is 90 degrees, but the way the curb works means that it feels like less than that. The braking zone's quite short, so it's quite a difficult pass to make down there at turn 9. But you've got to take the chances you're given around here. You can't be particularly picky, because there aren't many chances here at Long Beach. So turn 1 might well be the best chance, but even that is difficult. It's just hard to get alongside here. You've just got to take the chances when they arrive, and maybe that will be through traffic. That was quite close. That's what I mentioned on the pole lap about not bouncing over the inside curb too hard, because you'll very easily get to the outside wall and indeed make contact with it. So you've got to be very, very careful.
Measured aggression, definitely, I think, is the word of the day. You can't afford to be lax, because the quickest drivers are going to take it right up to the edge, but at the same time, it's so easy to go over the limit. As we check in with Chad Henson as well. Definitely lots of battles all up and down the field. Chad's got Zahair and Ryan. Those are the two that are close behind him giving chase.
And, yeah, very close in that they are. So many groups like this around the field, by the way. We're picking out a few of them, but there's so many pairs and trios up and down this field at the moment who are fighting away. And by the way, they'll be fighting the sun in their eyes at the moment as well. I've noticed it's just dipping down at the moment. We started at 6 p.m. in the middle of April. It's not going to go dark in this race, but the sun is already at what I would describe as an annoying height. And with all the buildings and stuff reflecting off and lots of shadows around, it's going to become more and more of a distraction over the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, anybody who's driven during either sunrise or sunset has definitely experienced this. And instead of just trying to see the stoplight that's in front of you, you're trying to spot your brake markers at hundreds of miles of virtual hour here on the track. So it is hard, even within the sim, to try and see through the glare. And it's a tough enough track as it is. So they put the drivers up against it these 2 weeks here at PCA. Great job by Chad so far. It seems like Shaji and Jason have not been able to do anything to try and crack the armor of the number 930. But they still got plenty of race to go, more than half of it left here today. A great exit as well by Henson coming off of 8.
Yeah, if you're getting a good exit in the right places, defending can be pretty easy around here, in all honesty. So here just defending, or shaping a defence from Jason Ryan, who looked down the inside there into turn 10. Not sure whether that was just car positioning or whether that was a legitimate attempt, but that was definitely just a little bit of a difference in line there. But again, if you have the good run out of turn 11, same as what you do after turn 8, there's no chance you'll be able to get through in towards turn 1, where the actual overtaking opportunity is, in towards that corner. So Ryan will have to think of somewhere else to try and get through here. So as you hear, just continuing on, putting that pressure on Henson, who at the moment is just doing enough to defend this 22nd position.
I think there was even just a little bit of contact coming down to the hairpin. That's how close he got to that number 10. But had to back off a little bit, naturally, just try and give him some space. Zuhair, in the meantime, also showing himself in the mirrors at times, seeing if he could get anything out of Henson in the way of a mistake, but still no dice, as the blue, red, and black machine will retain that position, at least for the time being. So who else is going to decide to blink? I do see Enrico Gregorato just came into pit lane. It's probably going to be most of those drivers farther down the order that are willing to take the risk. As you heard Ewan mention, it's so easy to get caught up in traffic if you pit early from the front.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, you get to a stage in this race, and the leader's probably not that far away from it, where you think, well, we're in quite, well, actually, to say that Briggs and Co have just found themselves into quite a lot of clean air, but in about, I would say, 10-15 minutes, as Tipton spins from the top 10, about 10 or 15 minutes, they'll be in a lot of traffic, and they'll think, well, this is just as bad as it would be back in the pack. So that's the point at which the pit window really opens for those in the lead. But unfortunately, Justin Tipton not part of that anymore. He was in the front group earlier, but spins, bobbling over those difficult curves at turn 5, and drops outside the top 10.
Unforced error. Yeah, that was all on him as he came over there. Nobody anywhere near him at the time. And thankfully, he did play it patience. I'm very glad to see that a lot of drivers are heeding the advice of race control on this one, and just making sure that they don't cause any more problems if they have an accident, just because it is so tough to get turned around.
Yeah, thankfully that is one of the better places, but it isn't ideal any which way. And Tipton there just falling afoul of what I think is one of the most easy mistakes to make really around here at Long Beach. It's such an underrated, difficult corner. It's off camber, it's very bumpy. It is, you know, it's over those curves as well on the inside. Getting back onto West Shoreline Drive, the same highway, albeit in the opposite direction that you start this race on the front stretch, and yeah, it's just a very, very tricky corner. Even with the traction control we have in these cars, not easy to squeeze on the power there, as we saw from Tipton. But as you say, it's an unforced error. It is. It's not. But although it's an easy error to make, it is an unforced error. He was the one putting the pressure on. Indeed, I think it was Mendonca at the time. He didn't have anyone putting the pressure onto him. So yeah, he'll be disappointed with that, to drop outside the top 10 with that kind of mistake.
Still lots of laps left, so you can stick with it. Could try and make up for it somewhat. Just depends on what happens to those around him. Derek Dirksen also gassing it up a little bit too much coming off the hairpin. A lot more difficult place to get turned around, as this is much more narrow. And he also is waiting and biding his time to carefully find a space that he can get himself facing the right way. And watching your relative box on iRacing probably so crucial in this moment before he finds a spot, has to do a 3-point turn in the process, and another driver who finds himself backing up into the wall and knocking that rear wing off.
It's very, very frustrating, isn't it? And frustrating for them that we live in times in iRacing where it does fall off quite easily, that rear wing, if you back it into the wall, as it should do, of course, but that wasn't how iRacing used to work. And yeah, you'll definitely feel that. Although, to be fair, I've seen cars around here, maybe with the exception of turn 1, turn 9, get away without having a rear wing, really, because seeing a GT car, it is doing a bit, but not as much as it is in a downforce car. And you're just not really going through the corners at that higher speed around here. So it's not the worst circuit in the world to run without a rear wing.
It's a fair point. Probably changes the balance quite a bit, I'm sure. But yeah, if you can just be cognizant of it, maybe you can live with it until you get to your pit stop and get the spare car. So watching the battle for 11th. This is Gerbino in the teal machine being chased by Thomas Ewing. And Jake is one of those that has done a great job, as I think he has the most positions, or at least, well, close to the top 10. 6 gains. The other driver close is the one in front of him, Chris Pies, who has gained 5. Otherwise, you have to go all the way down to Cameron Erickson, who's taken 8 positions, and he is back down in 16th. Oh, Arthur Chan gonna blink early here. He takes a pit stop, and will this help him out? As he's currently scored 25th, but I think he was higher than that. So I think when we checked in on him, he was 22nd last.
I think as after we left as well, he was higher than that even, I think. But let's see where this drops him out here. He's not going to be that far before the leaders, who might be behind Rich Minkler and Julian Velez, who are the ones who are about to be lapped for the first time next. So Chan's got to be very careful he doesn't end up with the blue flags here. He's still not out the pit lane as the others are tearing down the back straight now, or the front straight now, as you can see. And Chan's just about going to still be on the lead lap, but you've got to stay there because, as you mentioned earlier, the blue flags here mean that you do lose a lot of time, because you technically do have to pull off the road completely and let them all through. Thankfully, they're not quite as in a big of a group as they were earlier, but even so, it will cost you time, even letting one car through.
Chris Cook apparently having a meatball flag, unfortunately, that he's going to have to get repairs. I think he was already multiple laps down, so in fact, it looks like, yeah, that is old news, unfortunately. So he's been sitting in pit lane for some time at this stage. The good news for Arthur Chan is that he only has to hold on for about 15 minutes to keep about a second ahead of Thomas Briggs. And I think the chances are good that he can stay ahead of that 22 within that amount of time. Because there is Thomas Briggs, and we saw a tiny little flash of another car. That was Arthur Chan. And you can't even see him in this shot. So, yeah, he's got some leeway.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a good drive from Thomas Briggs now as we get through the first half of this race. Getting through on Sang when he did was probably crucial. And he's now showing the speed that I thought he had, to be honest, when he was behind Sang. It did look like he had that little bit of extra speed. And he's now pulling away to the tune of at least 2 seconds. So this could be another different race winner this season if Thomas Briggs were to be able to bring it home. Getting through the first half of this season with 4 different winners in 4 races would be nice, but he's got a lot of obstacles between now and then. Mostly this circuit, to be honest. If he doesn't make an error, though, he should be fine to make it to the end of this race with a race victory.
Worth noting that Bryce Rodriguez, who put it on the pole, and it was so close between he and Blake Townend on those times, and yet they've been running 3rd and 4th and haven't been able to catch up. We're watching the battle for 21st, but I do want to mention this point. Rodriguez and Townend, they're both sporting damage. Blake, much more so, I can say. And I don't know if that is affecting their speed, because as you heard from Ewan, it shouldn't necessarily have as big of an impact, but you never know as we get a little bit tight here, and Zuhair is nearly pushing Henson through some of these corners once again.
Yeah, this is the frustrating thing about Long Beach again and again. And to be fair, when oh dear, a spin for Jake Gerbino. Oh no, and he's rejoining. Wow, he just rejoined and hoped that everybody else would avoid him. That's not a good strategy, but he's been avoided quite nicely. He's got bad damage here, unfortunately. And oh no, he needs to. Oh dear, he needs to be very careful. James Soof there nearly got absolutely wiped out. Gerbino's got to be so careful here. There's so many cars around him, and at the moment he's going too fast with the damage that he's got. Oh, he's going to go a bit slower now. How's he going to get it around the hairpin though? Is the next question, because that could cause traffic jam in itself. How did he even get in this position in the first place? I think he was distracted in the. Oh no, he's got caught up in Gregorato's incident. Is that Enrico Gregorato? And there's someone else spinning in sympathy as well. Well, you can understand then why Garbino was so eager to rejoin, because he was very frustrated being caught up in that.
I think that was Backer, the 001, in his second incident. And yeah, you can get penalized if you try to drive a car back, and it is not in a safe condition in this series. So let's see what put Enrico in that spot. Trying to slow down to let some cars by. Did he just... Oh yeah.
No.
He unfortunately was off of his normal racing line, and sometimes that can make for awkward spins like that.
Yeah, you forget how... Oh, my goodness me. And Garbino, none the wiser, comes flying in, as do the others in the group. Yeah, well, that wasn't great, Enrico Gregorato, unfortunately. I mean, it begs the question, when do I turn around? Well, unfortunately, towing might be the best idea, even though it does lose you a lot of time. Unfortunately, you can't sit on the racing line like that, because it will only cause trouble. It was indeed the 001, the other one spinning in sympathy, by the way. And Backer did the right thing immediately, by the way, just towed straight away. Didn't waste any time. Let's see if there's a gap here on the relative. No, let's not do any wasting time. Let's just tow straight back to pit lane. I think that's the right idea.
So Garbino here as we check in, now past the halfway point of this race, and then stepping a little bit farther forward to sixth spot. This is Waltman and Grotto. I did notice recently that Logan was getting very close to the rear of that 707. Just can't seem to do anything right now as it sits, and maybe he just has to stay patient for a bit longer. We're thinking maybe about 10 more minutes before the pit window starts to close. Both of these drivers, no doubt, starting to think about, when do I want to come in?
Yeah, to be honest, I think some of them should have been thinking about it quite a long time, but there you go. I do get the point of it obviously getting worse further back in traffic, but Logan Grotto, for example, has been stuck behind Jonathan Waltman for a little while now. Unless he can get through, you would think that maybe he'd be a prime candidate to try and come into pit lane soon to make up a position. Maybe not in towards turn number one. He's had a think about diving down the inside. He's not gone for it, but based on the fuel numbers that we were given earlier this season, as I mentioned, this is the least fuel burn of anywhere, as expected, but pit window should be open for at least another 10 minutes here, so that could be a long time spent behind Waltman for Grotto. That's why I'd be thinking, is it better to come into pit lane here, especially when this traffic gets a bit thicker, as it's about to. These guys are not far away from catching quite a few cars in consecutive laps, and that is going to slow them down a lot, so I think might as well come into pit lane and see if he can make up time, or maybe make the pass on the circuit. That was wide from Waltman, and here comes Logan Grotto in towards turn 9.
Outbreak, somebody's got to make the corner now, and he's deep into there. There's going to be contact between them. Almost a road course slide job from Logan Grotto, and they'll make it out the other side, but not without some damage in the process.
Yeah, that was a slide job, really. And Waltman was not expecting it either. I'm not sure if Grotto was trying to do that or whether he just broke too late, but he was late on the brakes anyway. Down the inside, Waltman just got straight into the back of him through that turn 9. Thomas Isabel there in the background closing in as well. There's the contact. Look how far away. You can tell from here how far away from the apex he is. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to be honest. You've got to be aggressive here. And it's up to Waltman in that scenario not to hit Grotto. He could have, in hindsight, gone cut underneath him, try and go around the outside of 10, get you to the inside at 11. But obviously wasn't expecting Grotto to go so deep on the brakes there.
Any landing you can walk away from, I suppose, in this situation. Right now, that gives him 6th place, which he had been working on for quite some time. Now he's got to make good on it, although the diffuser, no doubt, experiencing a few problems with that big center punch that he took from Waltman coming into the corner. Looks like you've got Zuhair into pit lane, number 10, going to be the latest to take a stop. All these two work their way towards that pit entry. We've already seen up to about 29th place lapped on this track. And as it continues on, there's going to be more and more cars until it becomes a practical conveyor belt of trying to just navigate lapped cars around here.
Yeah, it is going to get like that at some stage. To be fair, for the first 40 minutes, it hasn't been as bad as I thought in terms of the regular stream of traffic here. To be fair, the fact that we're down to 33 in the field now, maybe helping that. That's about a sixth of the field gone. As Gregor Otto does indeed get a black flag for his rejoin there at turn 8. But yeah, the fact that we've got a few cars out the race is just helping a little bit, although traffic is still rather thick. You can see there for Thomas Briggs that he's definitely in it now, so maybe it is time to start thinking about coming in here for one of these guys further towards the front. To be fair though, nobody's really being held up by anybody else. I mean, Rodriguez is not that close behind Sang, to be honest. You'd expect him to be, really, considering he qualified on the pole.
Well, I mean, Briggs is 3.5 seconds up. At one point, he was 4 seconds ahead of them recently. So he's been managing this extremely well. Sang has had no response since he handed over the lead, practically. And Bryce Rodriguez, in the meantime, is the one that's been kind of hovering around Justin whenever we check in on that. Coming down into the braking of turn 1. I think that 50... was that? Yeah, that was Arthur Chan, actually. So he did get caught. My predictions did not come true, and he's had to pull over for our leaders.
Yeah, and that's cost him time. He's actually gone back behind. Was he behind Velez before, or is he back behind him again? He certainly is now. And if he's made that pass and now going to have to do that all over again, that's going to be incredibly annoying. You just see them in the background there through this section. Yeah, maybe this early stop hasn't quite worked for Chan. It's such a difficult call to make. To be fair, as Lenny Holland now comes in as well. Expect to see a lot more. Now, yeah, does Velez get through here? Or does Chan make an error maybe? I don't think he was intending to do that. That, to me, looks like an error. And indeed, he has lost that position to Velez. So he would have worked for ages trying to get past Julian Velez, and he's just let him back through again there.
Well, how about trying it right now, coming up to the hairpin? He's getting aggressive to make that one back, and he's done it, actually. We didn't get to catch it on screen, but somehow Arthur Chan passing between Firestone and the hairpin and actually making it work.
Well, any way you can manage it is what you've got to do. I think the frustration for Chan after the mistake he made last lap has just forced him to just go for it anywhere. And Velez realises what's going on here. Chan's made his stop and Velez hasn't. But again, there's now lead lap drivers behind them again. Justin Sang and Bryce Rodriguez are right in behind them here. There goes Sang to the inside of Velez through turn 4, and it's tight through here.
Same thing there. You just saw that Bryce Rodriguez also had to sneak by him. There you go. That takes some cooperation and some respect between the drivers to make room down through the Indy left into the hairpin, and they both get away with it. Cameron Erickson just pitting in from what we can see on the right-hand side of your screen. Battle for P2 between Justin Sang and Bryce Rodriguez. I'm pretty sure this will come down to some lap traffic having a part to play in this battle.
I think it probably will do. I mean, there's so much of it now in this field. Even when these guys end up making their pit stop, they will still be encountering the same things here. We've now got just 21 drivers on the lead lap. That'll go down to 20 with Cameron Erickson down in pit lane, or very close to going off the lead lap now. But Townend's in. First of the real leaders to come in, you would say. Because Justin Tipton obviously had that spin. He was quite down the field anyway. He's now made his pit stop as well, by the way. But Blake Townend in, still trying to recover from running so wide through turn 1. That's really put him a long way back in the race. Maybe he'll get this front end repaired now, and that might help him a bit. Maybe it's not been affecting him really at all, but I suppose we're about to find out.
Popped back on, and I'm watching. I see a big gap, and I'm wondering if that's what he noticed as well, that he may slot into. So this could be why he's making this call, knowing that he's got an opportunity to not be held up by some lap traffic, get out in clear air, and put some good laps in. And yeah, he's going to come up behind, I believe, Gibson in the 911, or actually no, just in front of him. Oh no, actually it's not working out. He is going to be slotted in there amongst a couple cars. It didn't quite work like I envisioned it here, and now he is going to have to make some lapping while his rival could be on his own.
Indeed, so it's just about getting a little bit of luck really with this stop, and indeed where you come out. Townend has got to be efficient in getting past James Huth here. Very, very efficient if he wants to make this undercut really work. as Lee Peterson comes out the pit lane, just in behind these leaders. So Sang and Rodriguez will be pleased that he just comes out in behind them. 22nd position now for Peterson, just in front of Julian Velez as well, who still hasn't made his pit stop and is now sort of mixing with that sort of group. There goes Townend. I think James Swift cut him a bit of slack there and let him through into turn 9.
It does appear to be that way. He didn't fight that one very hard. Oh, that's late. You can see how wide through the hairpin Blake was. Still trying to get back up to speed. That's not going to help him either. Nobody else around him back at the front has pitted yet, so they will continue on for another lap. But that may be the last lap that we'll see them be able to carry on.
Yeah, well, less than 17 minutes to go. Can't be long now until we see all of them into pit lane. More traffic staying off to the right-hand side there. Grado with the next two negotiate them. There's Thomas Briggs, still with more traffic to see off here. Still, though, leading this race and leading it comfortably as well. Mendonca comes into pit lane 2. And he is having a very quiet race, got to say. I'd be surprised if he isn't in 4th when this all shakes out. Logan Grado comes in as well. We're very much at that time now.
This is kind of when we were expecting a lot of drivers to make the call. A bunch of our front runners coming in together, though we're still missing Briggs, Sang, Rodriguez, Waltman, Isabel still need to make a pit stop. I agree with David Mendonca.
Oh!
I mean...
Sorry, that lap car there was trying to be helpful, but completely stopped on the apex, and look at him flashing his lights here now. He's not particularly pleased with this lap traffic, and you can see why. Stopped on the apex of turn 6, miscommunication down to turn 8. As you see, the smirk he had on his face earlier as he was sort of enjoying the lead has been absolutely wiped away as his race would have flashed before his eyes there for a moment.
Yeah, even a shake of his head, like, I can't believe that just happened. He once again is able to survive it, and we said survival's job 1 in today's race. So as we wait for their other drivers, I was about to say, before we had some wild moments, that Mendonca, who was in this 4th place and has now been handed over to Waltman, is for qualifying slightly out of position for what we consider is normal for him, has done a great job just casually kind of letting this race play out.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it here for Mendonca. When you haven't got that safety net to fall back on, like the likes of Rodriguez does, or, well, to a lesser extent than Blake Townend does, to be fair, who's going to get points for 3rd place tonight, no matter what happens. You've just got to survive tonight, I think. There'll be circuits down the line where he'll go better at, and he'll be able to make up positions at, and he'll be able to gain those points back again at as well. Ones he'll be feeling more confident at later on this season. This is not the round where you have to win everything, if you like. As Waltman and Rodriguez come into pit lane, slightly shorter in the box from Waltman. We'll see, though, who gets in front of him here, because there were guys queuing up with him earlier. Will Logan Grado still be in front of Waltman after this?
With an 11.8, meanwhile, Mendonca with a very short one at a 10.6 second stop. As we watch the 707 try to slot in, and will join just behind Logan Grado, who's already taken his pit stop, and off they go. There is David, currently running in 6th. Oh, Thomas Briggs just pitted in as well. There is our leader, the Maverick Region driver, who will actually be overtaken. Justin Sang is able to go 1 lap more. That's interesting. This is way longer than we thought.
It's a little bit longer, yeah, and surely Sang will be in next time round. To be fair, he's got some others who are staying on. Thomas Isabel goes on again, but is this really going to be any advantage to Sang? I'm not entirely sure. He's certainly not going to catch up to Briggs, I would imagine, whose 10.9 second pit stop is more than enough. As long as he gets in front of Bryce Rodriguez here, he should be fine. I mean, Sang's pit stop would have to be incredibly short to actually get in front of Thomas Briggs here. And you just can't see that happening at the moment. He's just going to avoid incident and accident, and he'll become the 4th different race winner over the course of the first 4 rounds of this season.
Still a lot that can happen here. We'll try and let these pit stops play out, then we'll give a shout to our sponsor afterwards. In the meantime, Justin Sang, we expect will be in. Same thing with Isabel and Pies behind him, the only other ones that owe us a stop in the top runners. And indeed, There goes Justin having to make that fiddly little chicane entry into the pit lane. Do not expect Thomas Briggs to get overtaken, but don't count anything out. Watch this space.
We'll just keep an eye on it. Here is Rodriguez. This is going to be close with Sang, but this is Briggs rather. They look quite similar to me. Briggs should get out in the lead comfortably. What's Sang's pit stop time going to be though? 10.9 for Briggs. It's a second shorter or so from Sang. It's very short, but it's not going to be enough to get ahead of Briggs. It should be though comfortably enough to stay in front of Bryce Rodriguez here for second.
Wow, I hope that's not too short of a stop from Justin Sang, but he did go a lap longer, so maybe he saved quite a bit of fuel. As we now finally see the drivers wrap that up, that gives us a chance to mention our wonderful sponsor, Princess Cruises, title sponsor for 2026. With 17 ships sailing to 345 destinations on 7 continents, world-class cuisine inspired by the places they visit, and the friendliest crew at sea, Princess is ready to welcome you on board. And specifically for PCA members, join the Treffin at Sea 2026 Pacific Wine Country Cruise on the Grand Princess, sailing from Vancouver to Los Angeles, September 9th to 25th. Go to the website link on the screen, pca.princesspartnerships.com, or call 833-679-2188 to speak to a PCA travel concierge agent. That's 833-679-2188. Is this going to be a cruise to victory for Thomas Briggs? He's got about 4 seconds gap after the pit stops over Justin Sang, and 10 minutes to go, barring that lap traffic being a problem, which, looking at my trap map, I do not think that'll be the case. Thomas Briggs might just have open ocean in front of him.
Yeah, looks like it now. Maybe a little bit in the final few minutes of this race in terms of traffic, but nothing really should trip up Thomas Briggs from here to the finish. He's going to move into 4th place in this championship at the very least, if not further up the field here tonight. It should be 4th indeed, but can he insert himself into the championship fight this season? I think is the question that I'm looking forward to answering over the next couple of months, because last season or the season before, he started very well alongside the likes of Townend and Rodriguez, and immediately, sort of after the first 2 or 3 weeks, he started to fall away a bit. And see if he can string a whole season together this time round to really compete for the title at the front, because that's been the problem so far. He's won races before. We've seen this happen time and time again. We haven't seen him really challenge for the title though in the Pro class, and we'll see whether he can start to do that, start to put his hat in that ring over the next 4 rounds.
Yeah, a 110-point gap coming into this stage, as John Gibson is another victim with the small amount of elevation change that we have here over the crest coming out of or onto Pine Avenue there. 110 points. It's going to be tough to try and overcome, but again, if he keeps making big moves like this, Thomas Briggs could reel in our front runners, since it is such a big gap between P1 and P2 in points. Meanwhile, we've come to Thomas Isabel now here sitting in 6th as he fights with Logan Grotto.
Just on that point, by the way, Rodriguez would be tied with Townend at the moment at the top. Mendonca 20 points behind, Briggs only 60 behind, so yeah, it would be very, very close after 4 rounds. Isabel here probably going to be finishing in 6th place, I would imagine. Seemed to get through on Grotto through the pit stops. Can't see that reversing because they're so evenly matched. You do need a bit of a pace advantage here, so I would bet that Grotto maybe can't get through in the next 10 minutes, but we'll see. He'll certainly try. Thomas Isabel will certainly try and not let that happen. But it's those crucial pit stops. 1.5 seconds quicker for Isabel. 3 laps later than Grotto. A bit of an overcut working to get him into 6th place.
0.3 of a second between the pair of them with less than 10 minutes to go on the clock. Isabel back ahead. Grotto probably none too happy that he's wound up exactly where he didn't want to be, although he gets a good exit coming off of the hairpin. Coming down Shoreline Drive. He'll get the toe as it weaves off to the right-hand side, setting up for the entry into Toyota turn. Down to the inside, covering Thomas Isabel. Tries to keep Grotto behind, but Grotto is deeper on the brakes for the second time.
Oh.
And this time, with a little bit of elbow grease, he gets himself the spot.
Oh, and Isabel had to defend off Pies. Maybe he was listening to me saying he's never going to get through, and then he said, watch this then. And fires it down the inside and gets through towards turn number 1. That was very nicely done. But Isabel's under real pressure now. Wasn't expecting that, and he's going to have to defend from Pies hard. He defended into the hairpin, rather the fountain rather well. Now, though, into turn 6, he's side by side with Christopher Pies, who's on the outside. If he can stay there, he'll have the inside for turn 8. Jonathan Waltman will be waiting in there behind as well to try and take advantage. And Isabel has to let Pies through now too. Here comes Waltman on the back straight as well.
It's unraveling for Thomas Isabel. Aggressive defense down to the inside, coming to turn 9. That will hold off Waltman for now. What a wonderful job by Pies. He went side by side for about 3 or 4 corners around this track. That's almost unheard of.
Yeah, it was very, very good to watch. But in the end, it's gone the wrong way for Isabel. It just shows momentum around this place, really important. This is it. Out after the fountain, Pies knew that this was his time to strike, because even though he didn't get through towards the fountain there, it's not about that really. It's about setting the driver in front of you off their line, and he fires it down the inside by turn 5. Doesn't get over the curves there too sharply, and he gets to the outside through turn 6. Now this is just impressive, to be honest. It's a very, very long left-hander, and Isabel doesn't quite maximise that on the right-hand side, to give him a bit too much room really to Pies, who eventually has no choice but to go into 7th position there. And Waltman was very close to taking position as well there. Isabel eventually did some good defending down here to hold on to that position. But yeah, this is that was very nicely done from Pies, understanding the race situation there, that sometimes a bit of aggression is required around here.
Well, Mendonca for a brief while was under pressure from Townend. Townend slips up coming off the hairpin, loses a few tenths to the 99. Might not be on the podium, but he's salvaging good points at this stage. And down to the braking of turn 1, he is well clear of any danger from what we had witnessed just about a lap ago between some of our top drivers. Briggs, by the way, still holding that gap at about 4 seconds up at the front. Hasn't really been much of a change. What a run it has been, though, making that pass. I'm still a little bit confused that Sang did not fight any harder than he did, but Briggs didn't waste his time. He got the spot, and then he's been controlling that since.
Yeah, I think there are a number of key points in this race. First one being lap 1, where Briggs took advantage of Sang's aggression in towards turn 1 there. If he doesn't get through on Rodriguez and Townend there for me, then he doesn't get anywhere near winning this race, even though he's clearly got some very good speed, as we're seeing right now. Second key point as well was getting past Sang when he did. He could have stayed right behind there up until the pit stops, but this is why I sort of try and balance these two things when commentating around here, because you've got to be so careful at Long Beach, because otherwise you're going to cause an incident, not only for yourself but for everybody else as well. There's a level of shared responsibility here that you don't get in a lot of other places, but also there's a level of aggression you have to put on here at times at this place that is, in other times unwarranted. It's about when you do that, timing that and then executing it well. And Briggs has just put on a masterclass of that here. Most of the time he's been very careful and has not been rash or aggressive or really driven sort of too extravagantly at all. But on those couple of key points where he had to be aggressive, he was, and he executed those moments perfectly. And that's how he's gone on to take what's actually going to look like a pretty comfortable win by the end.
Back to 10th place. This is Siddall over Justin Tipton. Tipton, another one of those that had a spin earlier on, is back in it, trying to crack into that top 10. Matthew just in front of him, not allowing anything at this stage. Checking back in with the 22. He's definitely hitting some of the traffic now. And I'm with you. I don't think I perform all that well with an audience. But he does not seem to mind. In fact, he's smiling. Look at that. Is that 4 people I can count? I saw a face up in the corner there as well.
I'm sure they'll. I'm sure it's a nice moment when they're celebrating later on. But I mean, I would, yeah. Maybe I'm quite antisocial, so you know that would explain it all. But you know, they're getting pretty excited because he's about to go on and win here, and pretty comfortably as well. Who's going to finish second, I think, is the question. I mean, Rodriguez is really close in the last couple of laps. Don't think Sang got a very good run through that little bit of lap traffic there, but Rodriguez has only got 2 laps here to work on a move.
Bryce, knowing that he got the pole, is probably going to be a bit frustrated if all he gets is a 3rd place here today, especially being so close behind Justin Sang, who mugged him at the start, you could say, with that incredible run down into turn 1. So, can Bryce turn the tables? Did he learn anything from that move? Can he maybe try and force his way back through as well?
Well, it's going to be difficult, I think, in the next couple of laps to manage this, but let's see. Time really being lost by Briggs here through lap traffic. Look at this, less than 2 seconds now. But then again, Sang and Rodriguez will have to do the same here, and that's a battle just happening in front of them as well. Chad Henson versus Rodney Campbell for 23rd, and although it's for a much more minor position, they'll still be fighting over that as hard as these guys really are fighting for second. So could be a very tricky moment coming up for these two very shortly.
And you're right, they have been fighting hard. We saw on some of our angles coming down the back straightaway, there is weaving and all kinds of action going on between them. So they may not be as aware that this is a close fight for a top spot. They are focused on what they are doing. So let's cross our fingers that this does not come to some unfortunate events, as there again you're seeing a huge defense from Chad Henson on Rodney Campbell, slowing each of them up, meaning these two are going to catch them even quicker.
Well, exactly. But this is so difficult to know what to do when you're the lap car in this situation. You want to, and look at them actually defending for one another now, or are they? Are they agreeing to pull over? No. Henson's defending there on the way towards turn 9. This is a nightmare for Sang now. Sang's got to protect the inside of this hairpin, otherwise Rodriguez can take the opportunity to go down the inside. If indeed it slows up a lot, and there he goes. Oh, there was a contact there, was there? Oh no, he just damned it down the inside and got through. That was great driving from Rodriguez. Sang had to defend the inside into the hairpin there, but just didn't. And Rodriguez took the chance.
Remember when you said you really can't pass into the hairpin? I think Bryce decided to take that as a challenge. And I asked whether or not he would get as aggressive. That's a big affirmative from Bryce Rodriguez. That one sent a message and got him second place.
Well, again, it's time and place for aggression round here. You can't do that on lap 1, or indeed for most of the race. But when it gets late on and then the aggression's ramped up and you're wanting that second position, then you have to go and get it. Oh, this is a nightmare for Rodriguez, though. It doesn't get any easier because these guys fighting for 23rd are too engrossed in their own battle. Sang is not out of this at all. Oh, look at the way they're chasing each other into turn 8 now. Rodriguez has to turn underneath them. Sang takes his front bumper off trying to take the place.
Didn't have enough room. This is the last lap of the race. We've been given the white flag, and now they're finally pulling over to allow this duo through, getting the message. I wonder if that might see some penalties as well post-race, since they should have probably pulled over a bit ago. In the meantime, Thomas Briggs, he has taken another win to his tally, and it's at one of the greatest venues here at Long Beach.
Yeah, fantastic win. 4th different winner in 4 races so far this season in the Pro Class for Series 15. And it's by nearly 6 seconds in the end, as Rodriguez does get home for second. He will be the championship leader as a result of that pass, by the way, by just 20 points over Blake Townend here tonight. And there's Thomas Briggs going to be celebrating and enjoying his evening, I would imagine, after a great race victory. His first in a while, actually. It's been a little while since he's taken a race victory. And he will be able to enjoy this one tonight from Long Beach.
I think he was motioning that he was going to get some donuts in or something there. Because doing a little spin with his finger, as Justin Sang, interestingly, was held up quite a bit by that traffic still, even through the last corner, wound up a full second behind. And yeah, trying to find some space for some burnouts and donuts. There it is, here down at turn 6 with a beautiful setting sun on the Pacific Ocean. I think that one is well-deserved, those celebrations for the 22. Which is going to take us to our results of I think somewhere in the realm of about 30 cars managing the finish, but only 21 of them completing every lap of the race. It's Thomas Briggs, your winner, over Bryce Rodriguez, making an aggressive move, maybe controversial. I think there may have been some discussions over the radio with race control after that, but he wound up on the road finishing P2. Justin Sang has to take third. David Mendonca with a quiet and composed fourth place over Blake Townend in P5. Logan Grotto was sixth, and Chris Pies was seventh. It was Thomas Isabel in P8, Jonathan Waltman ninth, and Matt Siddall did get himself a nice top 10. From there, Justin Tipton gave up a few spots early, but at least consolidated 11th. Andrew Serger 12th, and Arthur Chan with impressive gains, 14 spots, the most of anybody, to finish 13th. Sylvester Canny was P14, and then Leif Peterson 15th. Cameron Erickson was 16th, with James Huth P17, and Robbie Prescott 18th. It was Saji Zohar who finished in 19th, and Lenny Holland in 20th. Thomas Ewing came home 21st, last one on the lead lap. Jason Ryan 22nd, Chad Henson P23. It was Rodney Campbell 24th, followed by Julian Jones 25th. Jake Gerbino P26 for him was followed by Rich Winkler 27th, and Michael Patterson 28th, Julian Velez 29th, and then you get to cars multiple laps down with John Gibson in 30th. Mark Godrowski 31st, Enrico Gregorato, I think we may be getting to the DNFs, was 32nd, Dirksen 33rd, Eisenring 34th, and Backer in 35th. Heimbecker P36, Teggy, Cook, and Baltz the last of the fields today. I think we've got a chance to chat with Thomas Briggs, and let's bring him in for some celebrations with friends and fans, it looks like, as Thomas, you not only took the lead and managed to run away with this one, you did it while everybody was looking on.
Yeah, it's really special, to have my friends watching and supporting me. It makes it a lot sweeter victory.
Now, we were a bit surprised because Justin Sang didn't seem to fight you too hard with that pass early. What were your feelings on that? Did that caught you unawares too, that he didn't really defend?
No, I think he made it was a smart decision, because it's, here at Long Beach, it's like the American Monaco, it's really high risk, going wheel to wheel. I think it was probably a smart, calculated move by him. But yeah.
I think when we did the math, you cut down to somewhere around the realm of 60 points to our leader, from what I heard. That's a big leap considering how far you were back coming into this. What does this do for your plan for the latter half of the season?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Last race, I got a penalty that I wasn't very fond of. But there's no better statement than this to against that. But yeah, we'll see where we are. Or just yeah.
All right, understandable, and enjoy the celebrations. A fantastic win here today.
Thank you.
Thomas Briggs, your winner, who was followed up by Bryce Rodriguez, who made an impressive pass at the end, and Ewan has caught up with him.
Yeah, Bryce, welcome in. Let's talk about that pass for a second right at the very end there. It was always bound to get aggressive towards the end of that race, because you have to be at Long Beach to make a pass. Tell us about that pass on Justin there into the hairpin on the penultimate lap of the race.
Yeah, just a couple laps to go, and saw the gap and went for it. Here to race, not to sit behind in P3. So saw the gap. I knew that was kind of the only chance, especially with the two back markers right in front. Went for it, and obviously we banged doors, but that's racing, so it was fun.
And it gives you the championship lead now as well. Not that it's close to the end of the season. Indeed, we're only halfway through it, but you've got the lead by 20 points over Blake Townend, and David Mendonca a few further points behind that, and Thomas Briggs as well, only a few points further behind than that as well. How pleased are you with the first half of this season to get out with the championship lead, albeit a narrow one?
It's been ups and downs. Obviously, I have to give a big thank you to Mohansom and everyone watching at home. And obviously, from the outside, you can see it's very, very tough, and it's more intense actually driving. So it's been ups and downs. Obviously, last week wasn't the best race for my end, so try to come back stronger, and had a chaotic start, which kind of I had damage for most of the race, but just have to keep on pushing forward and just do the best I can for the rest of the season.
Congratulations, Bryce, on a second place finish from Long Beach tonight, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks very much. Bryce Rodriguez, second place tonight, and a new championship leader as well.
And to make that pass, he had to get by Justin Sang, and I'd love to hear the opposing viewpoint. We're kind of standing up, seeing that move down the inside. I'm sure it felt differently from inside your cockpit. What's your opinion on the pass into the hairpin?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was a little late. I feel like it was a dive, but I don't know what race control does. It seems like nothing goes my way anyways.
I can understand maybe feeling a little bit despondent. On the more positive side, you were kind of on the other end of that, making an amazing move at the very first corner of the race. What made you decide to go 3 wide and muscle your way into the front?
It's a tough track to pass, and I had a way better start than I think Bryce and Blake, so I had to go for it. I had the inside of the turn 1, so I had to make it into the corner.
Well, it worked out, at least for those first few laps, being able to lead the race for a little bit. This one, we knew it was going to be difficult, but it's not going to lighten up too much when we go to Oulton Park in a couple weeks. How are you feeling about heading over to the UK?
Honestly, I'm not sure if I even do the rest of the season. It's a lot of frustration running right now.
I'm sure there's a lot of emotions to deal with at this moment, so we'll let you try and decompress and see what you can make of this race. Regardless, you've got a podium. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you for the broadcast and everything.
That was Justin Sang in the 188. Obviously, feeling a bit miffed about this one, it sounds like. So things not going his way, or at least how he would like recently. As we mentioned, Oulton Park is our next one. That's going to be on March 4th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. You want to tune in for that, because while there might be a bit more runoff, it is still tight, it is twisty, and it's just as hard to pass there. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll have more racing coming tomorrow night as well, though, as the club class will take to this wonderful California track. So make sure and tune into that. Big thank you goes out to the steering committee here at PCA Sim Racing, as well as to our team tonight, Ramiro and Ewan. Thank you so much for watching as well. I'm Joe Peak, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.
Some trips are felt beyond words. No one connects you to Alaska like Princess. Princess Cruises. Book now. Some trips are felt beyond words. No one connects you to the Caribbean like Princess. Princess Cruises. Sailing the Caribbean. Book now. Some celebrations are felt beyond words. No one connects you to the ones you love like Princess. Princess Cruises. Book now. Some trips are felt beyond words. No one connects you to the Pacific Coast like Princess. Princess Cruises. Book now.